Let's get to know Tony.
Morning.
What is your favourite food and who cooks that?
Seafood. Kai moana. Absolutely love seafood, and we're so blessed with abundance here in Gisborne. And I do half the cooking. So when I went to university, my mum taught me to cook, and so yeah, I love cooking. So.
What is your secret talent?
I'm quite creative. I'm actually really good at art. I can really draw, and I love design. So yeah, art.
Have you ever been arrested?
No.
If you wrote a book, what would that book be about?
I actually am writing a book. I'm writing a novel. It's I don't know if you call it a comedy. It's not autobiographical. It's about a lawyer, but he's French, and it involves some really deep friendships, the Russian mafia, a champagne heist, and a pig.
What one word would describe you?
Passionate. I'm a really passionate person. I'm running for council because I love tairawhiti, but I'm running, of course, because of the skill set that I can bring. I love being on the council and being able to really offer guidance and just keep that eye on things, because there's a lot on council's table, and in the next 3 years there's going to be even more. There's so much reform coming down from central government.
Why do you think it's important for you to be at the council table again?
Yeah, it's just that skill set that I bring. I mean, I'm not afraid to ask the hard questions. I'm not afraid to really dig into something, and I really prepare well. So if I read an agenda and I don't understand something in the paper, I'll actually go off and research stuff myself. I will go and read expert papers, I'll go and read printed scientific material to get a better understanding, or I'll go and talk to people about it. I don't just rock up there and see what the room's doing and then vote with the room. And as I said, this term coming up, we are really, on top of our normal workload, which is pretty intense, we've got some massive programs going on in council, we're going to have a lot more reform coming down. On top of that, we're actually doing our own review of the TRMP, which is the region's district plan, the Tairawhiti Resource Management Plan. That's a massive piece of work, massive piece of work. And some of that stuff is critical to housing development, freeing up the barriers, the council side barriers, so the low-hanging fruit, reducing, for example, section size requirements, minimum requirements, setbacks from boundaries, site elevations, etc., side elevations. So, it's a lot of really exciting work going on. That excites me, and it's stuff that can make a huge difference in people's lives.
What would you say is your proudest moment in council?
I think the stance we've taken on climate change has been really significant. So council voted, we've made it our decree, to become net zero by 2030. We run a climate change lens now over every single agenda. That never happened before. So every single paper that comes to us has got to consider and inform us councillors about the climate change impacts of that particular decision. And that's something I really challenge staff on routinely. That's one of the first parts of a report I'll go to read, because in the back of my mind I'm thinking, well, okay, but there's more than just the decision we're making. There's the fuel used by the contractors to get to the point to go and do the mahi. What's the implications for that? There's the vehicles they're using. Are they electrified? What's the carbon footprints? So those sorts of things, all the time, my lawyery brain, my environmental brain is working away on them. So I think what we've done with that is really exciting. And also just before, or 2 months ago, we made an application to the government to firm up funding, 2.9 million, to implement curbside organic waste separation. Now this is really exciting, because almost 30% of our waste, which gets trucked out of here to the landfill in the Waikato, is green waste. Now if that was pulled out, our carbon footprint, our greenhouse gas emissions, is reduced by not a few tonnes, by literally hundreds and hundreds of tonnes. So, but that was a huge cost that our community really couldn't bear. So we received the Better Off funding from the government, and I put down that we should instigate that as a priority. That was taken up by the staff and voted on and approved. It's actually our first one off the rank. So I'm really excited that we're going to be implementing that. Just on that point, we will need the community to really buy into it.
What would you say is the one thing council could improve on if you're re-elected?
Our communication with the community, is definitely a challenge and an area that we've got a lot of potential for improvement. How's that a positive way of saying it? Look, COVID affected a lot of community interaction, but we've never done as good as we should in that space. So I'm definitely up for more openness, more transparency. Now, we have workshops and we will all sit around for 4 hours and argue cat and dog over a point before we arrive at a position. But the community doesn't know that. We're all debating, all arguing, all strongly participating in democracy. But democracy needs to be transparent. So I'm really keen for us to put a lot more back in the public eye this term and ensure that that becomes part of the culture of council. Yeah.
Are you anti-vax or anti-mandate?
No, I was on the health board until they were disbanded in July, and absolutely support the science behind vaccinations.
If re-elected, what would be your number one priority to take to the council table?
My number one priority would be to address some of our funding models. For example, the Waka Kotahi road funding model does not work for our region. Okay, we are funded on the number of kilometres of road, but it takes no account of our unique geology, the fact we have severe heavy transport with the logging industry, and our ratepayers simply can't afford because such a huge percentage of our community are at the decile 8 to 10 bracket. So the funding model doesn't work for us, and the funding model doesn't work in other ways, our population base spread over such a huge region. So, part of our conversations we need to have with central government and the advocacy for our region is to say, yes, hey, look, we are Tairāwhiti, we need your help, but you just need to change things up for us. For example, with the Three Waters reform, there is a fear that our voice, Tairāwhiti's voice, will get lost in amongst everybody else's because we're lumped in with so many other bigger centres. And our job, because it's going to go through, our job is to advocate to the government to say, look, yeah, okay, but you need to make it work for Tairāwhiti. We are quite unique. We know we're unique. I think they get that, but our voice can easily get lost.
If you could wave a magic wand and change one thing in our region, what would that thing be?
Eradicate poverty. I mean, no child should not be going to school because their family's whakamā, they've got no school lunches, or they've got no shoes. And old age pensioners, older people, for example, should be able to turn on a heater and be able to afford heating. They should not be freezing in one room. People should be able to afford rent. We like to pride ourselves in this country as being classless, but we're not. We have a huge poverty problem, and it's all of our problem to fix.